I remember being a kid, I think I might have been in grade 7 or 8 or something, and like one of the other kids at school said that I was intimidating. My world just switched around. I'm like, what?
There's nothing quite as thrilling as making history, and Erika Casupanan did just that. She became the first non-US contestant to take the crown in Survivor 41, also breaking ground as the first Filipino, Southeast Asian, and Asian Canadian winner of Survivor US, but that's just the beginning.
She's continued to shine, launching her own podcast, Happy to See Me, and taking on an exciting challenge as a contestant on the first season of The Traitors Canada.
One of her proudest accomplishments was walking away from her job to chase her Survivor dream. Erika Denise Casupanan is the embodiment of living your passion and making your mark in the world.
The mental gymnastics that I have to go through in my head to keep myself going, to see the sun come up and to see the rain stop, I was just like, holy I can do anything. Think of everything that you've gone through, that you've wanted to do, all the things that you've had to overcome, even at that point 10 years ago. You owe it to yourself just to try and to try out and see.
Welcome, Erika.
Thank you. Wait, did you see that was my middle name Denise somewhere?
Is it?
It's not.
Oh,
Where did you get Denise?
I don't know.
What is your middle name?
Athena.
Athena? That's an amazing middle name.
Yeah, so my first name
So
was
there's
actually
a different
hyphenated.
name here too.
What did it say?
T-I-N.
Tino. Oh, Tino is my mom's maiden name, which is also my middle name.
So where did Denise come from?
I'm not sure. Somebody's lying. Someone's lying on the
Someone's
internet.
lying.
Someone is saying your middle name is Denise.
You know
Maybe
what's-
we just take it and just go with it.
There's probably a Denise out there who felt so seen in that
So
moment, and I
seen.
took it away from her.
The
I'm sorry,
moment that
Denise.
someone says your name wrong or anything wrong about it, I've been in a situation too where someone has literally said like the wrong name or pronounced it completely the wrong way. And then I remember being in the moment the first time it happened. I must have been like a teenager. And I was like, how do I address this? But you
so
started
why
it.
don't you say your name like in the authentic way?
Okay.
Ready?
The authentic way, the way I say it.
Yeah.
The way I say it. So my full name is Erika Athena Tino Casupanan.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the way your mom would say it.
I'm afraid I'll say it right. Oh wait, my brain is short circuiting. Erika Athena Tino Casupanan.
See
Do-
what? There's a
Yes.
difference.
So Tino comes from your mom.
Yes.
Is that like, what name of hers is Tino? I guess
That's
is the
her
question.
last name.
That's her last name. Okay. Nice.
And what does that mean? Does it have a meaning to it?
I don't think it has meaning to it.
I think the reason why I asked was because in Philippine tradition, you have multiple names.
Yes.
Like you have your given name, and then people will just tell you that a name
all
is.
your names?
So my name on my birth certificate is Carlos Rodolfo Bustamante, but my name in my family is Caruso. So my family calls me Caruso. But you know, like I have aunts that are like, all my aunts are Maria. Like they're all Maria, but their names are like Candy, Butch,
Yes.
Candy. Like they all have their nicknames. Even my mom's name is Maria. She's Tina.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense. My mom, her name is Maria. I don't even know. I'm sure it's Christina.
Yeah.
But then also Maria is somewhere in there. So some people call her Maria. Some people call her Tina. Some people call her Christina. I find that, especially in the Philippines, everyone has what my siblings and I call their home name. So there's the name that you're called at school, and then when you come home, you and all of your family, you have your home name. So for me, my first name in the Philippines, it was actually Erika Athena, and then my home name was Thea. So all of
Thea.
my cousins and all my little nieces and stuff know me as Thea. And then as we'd get older, and then I would hear, friends come over from school and call my siblings and my cousins their school name, aka their actual birth name. I'm like, who are you talking about? What is going on? What is this? So yeah, we're living this double life as
A little
Filipinos.
double life. So they call
I
you
love
Tita
it.
Thea.
Thea, yes.
Tita Thea, I like that.
So like if you ever wait, so what's on your passport then?
Carlos.
Carlos.
Yeah, it's Carlos.
Officially,
It's Carlos.
but
Officially
the
Carlos.
names that everyone gives you.
Yes.
Got
So
it.
like
Okay.
I had a situation when I was, I think in grade 1. I must have been grade 1. And I never really liked being called Caruso when I was very young. And so at some point I remember them being like, what do you want to be? And I was like, just call me Carlos. Like everyone just call me Carlos. So at school they would call me Carlos, but in my family they would still call me Caruso. And it became very confusing when friends would come over.
Right.
Or when like, yeah, people from outside, basically my family would come over because they'd be like, wait, what? Like, what did they call you? And it was kind of a weird, kind of awkward thing to try to explain. Normal now. But when you're younger,
It's hard to explain.
it's a bit different.
Well, since we talked about that, we just survived all of that.
Good one.
Nicely done.
Congratulations. I know it's been a few years, but
Thank you.
have you kind of sat with the idea that you're the winner? I mean, people ask you that all the time, but what does it feel for you now?
You know what? I still have moments where I'm just doing my laundry or cleaning the floor or cleaning the bathroom like I did before. But then I still walk down the street. I run into people who are just shocked and just so overjoyed to see me and then tell me how watching me on the show meant something to them. So every now and then it still hits me that I'm like, yeah, I did that. That was badass, you know?
Is that sort of interaction for you something that you welcome? Like, is it a bit of a social cheat code in order to like be in the good graces of strangers?
I mean, I don't open a conversation by being like, hey,
Imagine.
are you into making history? Because your girl's done it. But I think it's something that especially when people come up to me and they recognize me from the street, I think earlier I used to put a lot of pressure on myself. I would think, I don't want this to be a don't meet your heroes moment for this person. I want this to be amazing. I want them to tell their friends and family that they had this amazing interaction. So I would really go above and beyond to try to make it special. Like I would have people FaceTime their partner and I would like say hi on the FaceTime. Now I'm like, okay, I can be boundaried. If I'm in a rush, I can keep going. If I have more time, I can be there. But yeah, I think before I felt like it was almost part of the performance in a way, making sure that I was good, quote unquote good, when people were coming up and talking to me.
Can we go back to Survivor and just start talking about it? Because I have so many questions for you.
My gosh, I feel like it's been so long. I feel like we're going to go back in time. I filmed it in March to May 2021.
2021.
So it feels like a lifetime.
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah. It's like I would have graduated high school in the time since then.
How old are you now?
I'm 35.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 35. I know. People think that I'm like 18 or 25 or 30. No one thinks 35.
It's a gene, I think. Like he looks like he's 15 too. It's a thing.
It's a thing that
but
we have.
let's go back to that moment. And you talked about this a lot over the few years, but were there moments that you just always think about or ingrained in you that just made it special for you?
I think the moment I think about so much is the worst moment ever. So I was exiled. So on Survivor, there's this twist that would happen where someone is sent to Exile Island. So it's a separate island where there's fewer supplies. You're away from everybody. Normally, people would get sent to exile for one night. And then on my season, there was a twist and someone had to get sent to exile for 2 nights. And it was me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my nightmare times 2. Because even though I've been watching Survivor forever, and I know that you live outside, I did not care about the outdoor aspect. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to go out there and play the social game. And then I get out there, I'm like, oh, I should have learned to live outside. So of course, little me is the one who has to live there by herself. And I remember getting to that island, just bawling my eyes out, feeling so scared that I wasn't going to be able to take care of myself and be able to feed myself for the next 2 days. And then I've managed to make a fire and they give me this little cup of rice. So I make myself this little bit of rice and I cook it and I'm just sitting in the sand and I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I just remember it was like all of the emotions from the game so far, but then this sense of relief, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to take care of myself. But then that wasn't all. It ended up pouring rain both of the nights that I was there, the entire night.
Dude.
And I stayed up all night because I was like, okay, if the fire goes out, then the wood is wet and the fire won't start tomorrow if the wood is wet. And if there's no fire, then I can't eat. So if I want to eat, my only option is I have to stay up all night and just keep feeding this fire, keep blowing on the flame to keep it going. And I did that all night for both nights as it just poured, like rain was just like hitting me so hard. And I don't know if I can't even tell you if I was still crying or not, or if my tears just mixed with the rain, but just the mental gymnastics that I have to go through in my head to keep myself going. And then to see the sun come up and to see the rain stop, I was just like, holy shit, I can do anything.
That was your moment.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was you realized your strength. And everything's so legit.
Yes.
As Survivor. Like everything does happen. I've been on set and I've seen it, and it's insane to see what you really go through it. So mentally, what were your thoughts through that rain? Like, how did you get yourself through? Were you singing in your head? What were you?
I was just imagining the wildest. I was just imagining the wildest stuff. And I remember at one point I'm thinking, oh, I'm not really by myself, because, you know, if like my parents knew that I was here, they'd be like cheering for me. Or I'm like, oh, if my friends knew I was here, they'd be cheering for me. And I just started picturing literally everybody in my life. I'm like, this person I used to work with, or like this aunt or uncle, or like this little niece or nephew. I'm like, all these people would like be cheering me on if I was here. So I'm like, okay, I can like keep going. And then that's like what got me through it. So I still think about that and I cry. I'm like, wow, the power of one's mental strength and knowing that they are loved. I'm like, wow, that can get you through a lot.
Being on Survivor is a very particular way to meet and bond with people. Mm-hmm. What is it like being part of that community?
Yeah, it's a cult.
I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. Like there is the community of people, like contestants who stay really active in the community post show. Mm. I'm not really as active in it. And sometimes I feel guilty saying that, because I feel like I remember when I was a fan of the show, I would see all these people and I'd think, oh my God, that's what I want to be once I'm done being on the show. And then I finish the show and I'm like, that was really fun. I actually want to go do something else. And I actually, now I'm like externally processing this. Sometimes I feel a little conflicted because I think, oh, I should want to be there, but I'm actually happy being over here. Mm-hmm. But all that's to say is I still have friends from the show who I will definitely be friends with for a long time. I've met people from other seasons and other shows, other reality shows who I've been friends with. So what is nice is I feel like anyone who's done a reality show has like a little bit of a scar. Mm. And if you've done a reality show, you understand what that's like, because you're in this surreal circumstance and then you're on the show that gets aired and you have no control over how people tell the story about you, how people perceive you. And then you have to deal with everybody's responses to the story that's told about you that you have no control over. So you just get this bit of a scar from having no control over anything. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, you know, we get through it. We're adults. But it is nice to know that I do have my friends from the reality community who I can lean on, where I'm like, hey, you know that thing? They're like, yeah, we understand how messed up that was. Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like only a handful of people will ever really understand what it is that you guys did.
It's a great support group too. But you're right about the whole storyline. You don't have control over the way people are going to perceive you on the show. Were you surprised by any of the contestants when you watched the show afterwards and how they were shown?
Was I surprised? I think that everything was more or less right.
Okay.
But I think that the versions of people that I knew in real life were actually much bigger, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the version of the show, I think that if there's somebody who you watched on the show who seemed likable, they were probably way more likable in real life. Okay. And if there's somebody you watched on the show who seemed villainous or hard to like, they were probably a lot worse to deal with in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No.
Say that the storyline made it more villainous,
but
right?
They were like, you know, because
really?
The cameras were on. And they
so give me an example. I want to know.
No, I can't. I'm like,
I really think you're going to go the other way.
No.
So the meanies were really meanies.
Yes.
Is it that thing of like you know, when you're in school, and like you know that there's like a mean kid, but they tone it down when the teachers are watching?
Yeah.
Is it that vibe because the cameras were on?
Yeah, but I think it's also like I don't ever want to like name names or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But I think that it's one of those things where it's still a show that needs to be consumed by millions of people, right? Mm-hmm. And it needs to be palatable to millions of people. And I'm like, I think that for the sake of the viewers, they have to tone down some of the behavior. Yeah.
Which is interesting because you think when you're producing or editing, you try to look for the drama and
Yeah.
entice that in drama.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're saying it's not done that way.
Like there's a
Which I
limit.
find it very
Well,
fascinating.
I think that they
is
like
there a limit
nice
when it comes
drama.
to drama? I don't know.
I think there is a limit. Yeah.
I think you're talking about a particular incident that happened. Is it?
Yeah, but even I know that they are on the search
Yeah.
for conflict, and I don't think that I'm someone who gets into a lot of conflict. I don't think I'm somebody
Yeah.
who is very impulsive or like would get into somebody's face, which serves me well as a person trying to win the game. But in terms of being a reality TV personality, probably wasn't the best thing. And there were definitely situations where two people would start to get into conflict, but I'm thinking like, we have to keep everybody calm here. So then
Right.
I would come in and I would diffuse the situation, calm everybody down. And I could just see sometimes there'd be like people behind the camera being like, God, Erika, can't you just like let them fight? But I'm like, no, it's better for my game if
Right.
everybody stays
We
calm.
need to survive here.
Yeah.
We need to be on here. Wow. Yeah.
Like nobody go crazy. Because I was like, if we're not calm, then someone's not going to follow the plan. And then we don't know what's going to happen. So I'm like, let's all just like, let's like chill out.
Have you been back to Fiji since? Would you,
No, I would love to.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I just experienced it in, the least humane way.
Right.
So when I went on set, did you arrive on that one little island on a boat?
So we were on the big boat in the ocean.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you went to this little island. Do you
Well,
remember
then-
like being enclosed in? I've always wanted to know in the
Yeah.
boat if you guys don't see outside.
Oh, no, we were on, so this is fun because we were on all the little boats that were just our tribe.
Right.
And then eventually we meet on this big boat and that's where we do our first challenge. But for us to be on the little boats leading up to the big boats, it's actually hours of filming before we get onto that big boat. Because first we have the camera people on the boat with us getting the individual shots. And then they have to have camera people in other boats, around us. And then it's the drones and it's the helicopter. So we're actually sitting in this boat for hours. And we're not allowed to talk to each other because technically the game hasn't started. But of course, sitting there for hours, people have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So then the producers were letting us one at a time. We'd stop and then people could go to the bathroom off of the back of the boat. And I remember at one point, and I'm wearing this like floral maxi skirt. And I'm like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go to the back, pull up my skirt, I'm squatting. And then that's when one of the other boats from the other tribes goes by. And I'm like, okay, so my first impression is just like my bare ass.
Right before the game. I was so fascinated when I saw that. I was like, you guys are stuck on the boat for so long. You come to this little island. It's so fascinating, all the little details that are part of Survive. Was there anything that surprised you about it?
Ooh, anything that surprised me. I still remember going to the first challenge because you did a challenge before, right?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, okay,
excited.
congratulations.
Yeah, I did the puzzle too, yeah.
Oh my god,
Oh my
I
God,
love
it
a
was so much
puzzle.
fun. Yeah.
So as you know, when you're walking to the challenge, the big area where they do the challenges, there's these paths that go through tall grass. So you follow these paths and then you come out and there's this field and there's this huge challenge. So I had to be at the front of the single file line because I was the shortest person and I was the first person walking up to the challenge. And I remember walking through the grass and then looking up at this structure they've built for us to climb. And I'm thinking, I'm really far away and I can see that this thing is so big. And I remember walking through the challenge and just emerging and seeing just the scale of the challenge for the first time. And I was like, oh, this is not just like some jungle gym. This is real.
Yeah.
And that was honestly the most nervous that I was the whole game. Like more nervous than going to the final tribal council or anything, seeing the challenge and seeing how big it actually was. I still remember the way my heart was beating.
Like that's when it
And
felt
we won.
legit.
And we won. We came back from behind because I did the puzzle. So we
Yeah.
ended up winning.
Yeah.
Puzzle's the hardest part.
Oh, I love the puzzles. I don't think production knew how good I was at the puzzles. And I
that's
think I
amazing.
even surprised myself at how fast I
Right.
could do them.
You know what? After doing that show, I feel like your world changed, right? I think you did accounting before that, correct?
Well, I worked in public relations.
Public
relations.
relations. And then you changed into this world of living your passion. And now you're doing podcasts. How did that show really, truly impact the way you live life?
It was one of those things. I had watched Survivor since I was 11. I remember being 11 years old. The first season comes out, watching Richard Hatch win. And I'm like, one day I'm going to be on that show and I'm going to win. of course, that wasn't possible because Canadians couldn't be on the show. But then I was so truly what I always thought what my dream was one day there will be a Survivor Canada. And I'm going to be on the Canadian version of the show, and I'm going to win the Canadian version of the show. And that's what's going to happen. And that was like my dream my entire life. And every single person I knew that I wanted to be on Survivor and knew that I wanted to win. And actually, Omesh, you'll appreciate this. So one day I'm at work and I pick up my phone and there's just so many messages.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on? Everybody is sending me this link. And this link is to a video of you on ET Canada talking to Jeff Probst. And Jeff is telling you that Canadians are now eligible to be on Survivor.
No
And I was like, oh my God. And then I immediately made an audition video. And then I got cast on the show. There was a delay because of COVID, of course, but I get cast on the show. I get on and I win. And I was like, I was waiting for there to be like a Canadian budget version of the show. And I had no idea I could be on the show that I watched since I was a kid that Jeff himself was hosting, and I could be the first one from Canada and get on and win. I was like, what I even imagine is possible, so much beyond that is what's actually possible. So I think that the show for me, it helped me in so many ways, but the biggest way is that it made things feel so much more expansive.
Okay.
There's so much more that's available to me now, and I'm capable of getting all of it.
Yeah. You know what? It's great. One of the through lines of if anyone kind of like goes through your social media is this idea that you're on to the next thing. And it's just constantly and consistently you being like, I don't know if I can do this. I think I want to do this. I'm going to go do this. And is that is that a result of what you had done on the show, or is that something you always had in you from when you were 11 going, I'm going to be on the show?
Yeah, I would always do that in little, but I guess it's not little, but in smaller ways in my life. Like I had never played a sport before. And then one day I was 25, 10 years ago, and I decided I'm going to try out for a boxing match for charity where I'm actually going to fight somebody.
That's crazy.
And then I was shocked that I actually got picked. I got to train. My coach was Mandy Bujold, who went on to become a 2-time Olympic boxer. And then I actually became a licensed amateur boxer and I competed. So I think that was a moment when I really surprised myself. And I think in so many ways, I've always just pushed it a little bit and then surprised myself to see what had happened. But I think Survivor was definitely the biggest one. But then also it's given me the invitation to share all of these stories with people too, right? I'm like, hey, little me, never played a sport before, did this. Little me who wanted Survivor Canada ended up doing this.
Yeah. So we did go through your social media. That's the whole
Oh
the
my God.
whole
We
vibe
haven't
on the show.
started. Oh my
I
God.
know
Okay.
there's so much to talk about.
While you bring up her first photo, I'm curious to know when you found out you did get chosen for this, how and why did you think you got chosen?
Ooh, oh my God. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I think 2 reasons. I think one, I think I was a clear character, like the little girl from the city who always has sky high eyelashes, had my purple hair, definitely a city girl, but who worked in public relations and knew how to quote unquote manipulate people. So I think I was someone who was easily underestimated. So as a player, you could really understand my character. But then I think that I was somebody to root for. Like when I went through casting, a story that the production team asked me to tell so many times, because when you go through casting, you're like meeting so many people and you just keep telling the same stories. But it was a story of how I actually got into watching Survivor. So I grew up in a multi-generational home. My grandparents lived with us. My parents worked around the clock. They worked nights a lot. So my grandparents were, in many parts of my life, were our main caretakers, and I was so close to them. And then my grandpa passed away when I was 11. And it was the first time that I had ever dealt with grief or dealt with death, and I couldn't really wrap my head around it. And of course, my parents supported me the best they could, but they had to go back to work too. So then shortly after that, this show premieres where I'm seeing these people on this island, taking on this big challenge, doing these big things that seemed beyond them. And I was just so hooked on it. And I didn't understand at the time, but now I see that it was a form of escapism that really inspired me. And then that's what made me decide, okay, one day I'm going to win that show. So, now if I was to go out and play, that's what I'd be thinking of. I'm like trying to show that little kid who felt so sad and didn't really know how to process what was happening in the world that she could do the thing that she wanted to do. And I think that after I told that story so many times, I think that they realized that I could be somebody that people could root for.
Right. Right. I love it.
That takes us actually to your first
photo.
Instagram photo. So perfectly fitting. Do you remember maybe what you posted first?
Was I a child?
You're a child. Yep.
Yes.
May 2013.
Oh, that's little me.
Look at that.
So cute. Purple. I feel like you like purple, the blue colors.
Jam.
I don't know, what is this?
What gives you that impression?
So what is happening here? Where are you? What's going on?
I am at Disney World.
Okay.
So thankfully, somehow throughout all of my childhood, even though my parents worked so hard and, always worked hard to make ends meet, a couple times as a kid, we were able to go to Disney World. Aww. So I think I must have been about 4 years old then. It was around Christmas time. And I don't know, for some reason I was just really drawn apparently to these like little bombs. I don't know. I think I felt felt like a fighter when I was a kid, just like ready to pick it up and launch it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did
you ever go to Disney as a kid?
No.
No, me either.
The first time I ever went, I think I was, actually I do remember the first time I ever went. It was for Dreams Take Flight. Yeah. So I went with Dreams Take Flight. I was there with Sugar, my old co-host from ITV. We got on the plane at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and flew down for the day. And it was us and like a bunch of wrestlers and a bunch of other celebrities. That was the very first time I ever went down to Disney.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our drive was to Niagara Falls as kids.
Oh, that's where I grew up.
Yeah. So, but were you like a Disney kid?
I went to Disney maybe twice when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I was a big Little Mermaid kid.
Oh, nice.
I would not go to sleep unless I watched The Little Mermaid.
Oh.
And how much of it could you quote right now if you were, for example, put on the spot?
I don't know if I could quote it all, but I remember in grade 3, I was bold enough to want to sing at the talent show, Part of Your World, a cappella, having no singing experience. Thank God I was probably 8 years old and cute, because who is this kid who wants to sing it a cappella? But I feel like I still remember the words to Part of Your World.
Do you still sing?
No. I think someone asked me if I was good at karaoke. I'm like, I think North American standards, I'm slightly above average, but Filipino, terrible.
I like that. I like that you have a proper like gauge.
Yeah.
Filipinos here in Toronto.
Yeah.
Also,
Canadian.
that story, given what I know about you, 100% checks out. That you were 8 and you were like, yeah, I'm going to go on stage and sing a cappella. So I reflect on like the way my kids move through the world. And my son and my daughter, their strengths don't always lie in the same places. And my daughter is more like that than my son is. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder about sometimes when people grow up having those experiences. Like I was a kid like that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out on stage. It's what I want to do. Do you remember when you were young being like, this is fine that I can do this, even if someone, like, did you see the no's? Did you see the haters?
Yeah.
Right when you were 8 and still overcome it? Or did you just not see it all and go, I want to do that thing?
I think that when I was little, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But I think like so many people, once you hit puberty, I remember once I would get to like grade 7 or 8, I'm like, that's when I would feel the insecurity. And that's when I would look around and be like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should be smaller and maybe I shouldn't be doing these things. But I remember being a kid, I was like, yeah. Like, why not? Why not? Yeah. I remember, like getting up on the table at home and like pretending I was a cheerleader or something. And there's like so many videos of that. Or like being a kid and pretending like I was an actor. I was like hosting my own show or something. I had that, lost it for a bit. Don't we all lose it once we start to become aware of ourselves and everyone around us? But I think that that's been a fun part of life since I've left my what I call my job too. It's like I get to go back to that little kid version of me who didn't care as much as what people thought.
Yeah.
You've been ambitious since you were a kid.
Yeah.
I feel like that's your middle name. Like I could tell just
it's
from what
not
you're
Denise.
saying.
It's ambition.
Ambition. Yes.
It's like, why not? And I kind of can reflect with you because I was like that as a kid too. I'm like, why not? Let's give this a try. And you never know where you're gonna end up, but you do find a space where you are reflecting on who you are and the space around you and the people around you that take that spirit away, but you got it back.
Were you always like that, like from kid to now, or did you lose it a little bit?
I did when I started listening to the noise around me, and I was like, that took my confidence and my ambition away. I've been told that I was too ambitious, and I'm like, do you ever say that to a man? No, you don't. You know, you go through those periods, but my ambition is back now for sure. But, you know, I feel that from you too. So it really resonates with me. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I remember being a kid. I think I might have been in grade 7 or 8 or something. And like one of the other kids at school said that I was intimidating. And I feel like that, like my world just switched around. I'm like, what? And then I think that I was like, oh, but in Filipino culture especially, humility and being humble is so important. So I was like, oh, no. And then my parents being like, can you tone it down a little bit? And then I think that that's when I came down a little bit. I still get called intimidating. But now I'm not as worried about it.
Which I find really interesting. And because, you know, maybe from a distance, if someone sees the ambition or they see the way that you move through the world, where you're like, I'm going to go try that. I'm going to go do this. And you have, maybe it's just for some people, the confidence is what is intimidating. But to know you, to have spent time with you, to share a space with you, it's just who you are. It's just like, this wonderful part about you that you lead with, which I think is really cool.
It's hard for people to accept that though.
Yeah.
Because it's a level of humble confidence, I call it. But also that ambition is hard for a lot of people to achieve. And she's done it her whole life. So I understand where she's coming from, right?
Was there a point where you kind of felt maybe like that other person, where you looked at someone who was chasing after what they wanted and felt like, I don't know if I can, because that's like, that confidence is intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't been a teenager or in their early 20s and felt jealous of their peer, right? I think definitely, like, and I think even now, it's something that I still have to work on. So yes, you know, I win Survivor and everyone thinks, okay, you win Survivor, you reach this level that you always wanted to be at. But then what happens when you get to the place you want to be at? Then you look around at who is higher, who's a couple rungs higher. And you're like, okay, but like this person did this and this person did this. So how do I compare? So even now I still notice it. And I'm like, okay, but Erika, remember, they're on their own journey. You're on your journey. You can't feel jealous. You can't let this affect how you view yourself. I think it always happens still.
Yeah.
But I think I just talk to myself in a different way.
And I think the other thing to look at it, and this is about social media in general, like people say, you know, don't follow people that make you feel terrible that you're by yourself. Then I say, why did you start following that person in the first place? It was because you felt inspired by them. So their journey, if they're able to reach that goal, there's a good chance that it can happen for you if you work as hard, right? So it's just like changing that narrative in your head.
There's this...
I don't know how this became.
I know, now I'm going to cry.
But no,
now I'm crying.
There's a story I heard. It's not a story, but it's kind of like a saying that I heard.
Yeah.
And it applied to like Hollywood.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the first time that you land a role, right? You've been dreaming about landing a role. You land a role, but then you look around and someone's got a better role. So you work hard and you get that better role, but then you look around and someone's got an award, got an Emmy. So you get an Emmy, but you look around, someone's got an Oscar. You get an Oscar, but you look around, someone was invited to Madonna's house for a party and you weren't. There's always going to be a level up that if you are looking for it, will make you feel like you're not enough. So you have to find that thing in you that says, maybe I still have ambition for things, but to your point earlier, the thing that they got might not be the thing that I need to have ambition for. Like I need to find what is my contribution.
Yes.
I think you have to come to peace, and I think that happens in your 40s.
It can happen later. I'll admit to that for sure.
I think.
So I have 5 years to go?
Yeah.
But you're I think very mature about it even still now, like understanding about about what life can lead you to. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the end of this show.
Anyways, thanks so much.
One photo.
Yeah, one photo. But okay, let's do another photo.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
Oh, I have to pick one?
Yeah,
pick
one.
whichever.
Oh,
you
okay,
want.
okay. Oh my gosh, this is me.
This is you.
Oh,
Okay.
BTS.
So this is at my friends Jules and Marissa. I have to shout them out. They run this community now called Bangtan Ball. It started as these BTS dance parties where we would only listen to BTS music, but then now they run all of these events to bring together ARMY, aka BTS fans. And BTS had a series of albums called Love Yourself. So at near, oh my gosh, around Valentine's Day, they hold these Love Yourself dinners. So this was me at their Love Yourself dinner last year. And I got into BTS during the pandemic. Actually, so fun fact, when I was supposed to film Survivor, it was March 2020. But then, of course, nothing happened in March 2020. So then every month, production would call me and say, we're just going to push it back 2 months. Then they call me the next month. We're just going to push it back. We're just going to push it back. So I was in this limbo for a few months. And it was the end of the summer of 2020 when they called me and they said, we're not filming the show this year. And too much time will have lapsed since you've been cast on the show. And based on our policies, we can't guarantee you'll be back on the cast next year. You'll have to do casting again. So I just freak out. I just lose it. I'm in a ball. I'm crying. And then that's when Dynamite came out from BTS. And I was like, this is the exact song that I need at this moment in my life. And then I started watching their videos and I saw them do carpool karaoke with James Corden. And I was like, I just want to learn their names. And any ARMY knows that that is the black hole. Because once you want to learn their names, then you just get into their whole lore and you understand everything that they stand for. You understand their messages of self-love and just everything that they put into themselves. So they really helped me a lot through the pandemic. And honestly, even after filming Survivor, coming home, watching myself on TV, having all of these people talk about me online, being a fan of BTS really kept me grounded. So
wow,
that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Being BTS
So is Dynamite your favorite song, or
Yeah,
do you
get
have
on the spot, top five.
top five? Okay, I mean, number one is Answer Love Yourself. And then they have another one. I mean, Dynamite has to be number two because of how much it means to me. Oh my gosh, why am I? There's one called Telepathy that I love.
Yeah.
That's three. Three. Okay.
Should we stop at 3?
We could stop at 3.
Okay.
I mean, we could keep going.
I
Let's
have
stop
a hard
at 3.
time picking. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah.
But that's such a great story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh my
BTS,
gosh.
man.
And if you're a BTS fan in Toronto, you have to check out Bangtan Ball. It's the best place for ARMY.
Okay.
That's great. We're going to have to do that one day.
We'll have to go.
All right, pick another one.
Okay.
How are you with choreo?
I appreciate it. All right.
That's a good answer.
Okay.
Ah.
Oh, this was me winning individual immunity for the first time.
Look at the smile on your face.
You're so tiny.
I was so tiny. I had always dreamed of course, winning Survivor and getting individual immunity.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you win immunity, Jeff always does this thing where he puts the necklace on you and then puts his hand on your right shoulder. And I was like, wow, this is that moment. Right before this, actually, it was a endurance challenge. So there was 10 people left in the game, but they actually split us into 2 groups of 5. So you'd only be competing within your group of 5, and then there would be 2 separate tribal councils. So it was like a twist in the game. So, and if you are the winner of your group, you'll win immunity. But if you're the winner of the full challenge, then you also win a bunch of food for everybody. So I remember seeing the group I got placed in, and I was like, these people are going to vote me out if I don't win. And this was an endurance challenge where there's this pole of wood. We're standing on it. There's like a little block of wood we put our heels on, and then we have to have our hands up somewhere. Yeah, hands up holding this this piece of wood above our heads, and then the back of our heads has to stay touching this wood pole. Wow. So you're in this uncomfortable position. I think I did it for about 20 minutes. So I won for my group. In the other group, there were still 2 people. And Jeff was like, don't drop yet, because you could still win food. And to be honest, this wasn't in the show. To be honest, I just like looked over, and I'm like, these people would have voted me out if I didn't win. So I just like let go and I fell, and I was like, I'm so sorry, guys. I couldn't keep going. But honestly, I was like, I'm not going to break my back to win you guys food if you're going to vote me out. So yeah, this was my moment of dream come true, and not winning food for everybody.
But good instincts.
Good
instincts.
And Jeff, how was it meeting Jeff and working with Jeff?
I mean, Jeff is the best. You know Jeff. Jeff is the best. I remember when I was in casting, at one point I had to FaceTime with Jeff, which was just like mind-blowing, crazy to me. But what was so weird about meeting Jeff is I felt like I had known him my whole life, and I felt like there was no ice to break. I just had the easiest time talking to him.
That's
Cool.
the best.
Yeah, and the dimples, amazing in real life.
Right. Even more so than on camera. Just
Yes.
Full on dimples.
And the calves and everything. And when I did it, Jeff had pandemic hair.
Which is what?
like
Unruly.
Oh,
unruly all over the place. I was like, Jeff, I will tell you if I think the hair becomes too much. And he's like, Erika, what? Like, why do you think you can tell me that? I was like, I'll tell you.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did you tell him?
Yeah. But you know, no, but it was, I think he did okay.
You did okay.
okay.
You did okay.
Respectfully, Jeff.
You did okay. Thanks, Jeff. All right, let's do
let's
another
see.
one.
Okay. Oh my gosh. This was
you.
This was the original artwork for my podcast, Happy to See Me. This was like, it's so funny. Like, this photo was actually taken. My friend Spring Morris, she's been my friend since undergrad. She is a photographer. And she was like, I remember when I won Survivor, she lives in my neighborhood, and she's like, you just need better pictures for social media. Do you want to just come over and I'll just take your pictures for free? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
And these photos, I use these headshots for everything for years. I'm like, thank you, Spring. So I remember putting this together. I'm like, I have a photo. And then my friend Natalie Cunningham works in brand, and she got her sister Amanda McCusker to design everything for this original podcast cover art. So I'm so it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my first iteration of it. So you look at it, you're like, oh, I know it could have been better.
Yeah.
But I also look at it with so much affection, because I was like, this is how it got started.
So
this was it.
That smile to me looks like you're in the middle of a laugh. Like that's
Yeah,
someone actually getting you to smile for real. Because
Yeah.
it's like being in a photo shoot and you just have to put it on.
Yeah.
Is that like, do you remember what was happening in that exact snap?
Yes. I actually was working like at ET Canada at this time, and I had just come home from seeing BTS in Las Vegas.
Amazing.
So Spring, my
You're
photographer
like, so
friend,
things are great.
she was-
Life is good.
Exactly. Spring was like, because first she starts taking my photo and there's no music. She's like, oh, sorry, I need to put on music. Getting
Yeah.
your photo taken with no music is awkward. She puts on music and she's just like, Erika, what was it like seeing BTS in Las Vegas? And I just lit up.
Yeah.
And this was the photo.
Aw. And tell us about the podcast.
The podcast, so it's called Happy to See Me. It's a show where I interview people about how they felt how they felt overlooked or underestimated in some way. So I actually had Carlos on a few weeks ago. Singate, I would love to have you on at some point. In the first episode of the podcast, and when I posted this, it was actually an episode where I talked about my portrayal on Survivor. So when I first watched myself on Survivor, I recorded an episode of me drinking wine, talking to a friend about what it was really like to watch myself on TV. But then, of course, there's contracts, there's all these things. So I actually couldn't release that episode until a year later. So I held on to it, and I'm like, I hope someone will be interested in listening to this a year later. But finally, in January 2023, I released the episode. This was the cover art. And so many people responded so positively to hear me talk honestly about what it was like to see myself on TV. And I think that it was so validating to get that response from people. And that's what's kept me going since. That was the
Do you
beginning.
ever go back and watch those episodes, or?
Some moments. I'd say
Okay.
some moments I go back and watch. Like I go back and I watch the first challenge again because of how scary it was and to see how well we did. I watch myself on Exiles. It's not like I also spend every weekend like sitting and watching.
No,
It just
but-
every now and then I go back and I watch it. So every now and then I see myself on Exile, but I haven't watched the rest of it since then. Yeah.
So the title of your pod.
Yes.
You were referring to the idea of watching yourself on Survivor. Happy to See Me. Tell me about the name.
Yes. So I wanted to create a name that worked for the specific moment in my life where I could finally talk about my portrayal and to feel happy about showing the version of myself that I have control over. But then I also wanted it to be something that could grow and enable other people to share their stories too. So now it's about allowing people to show themselves the version of themselves that people might have overlooked or might have thought you need to change in order to be successful, or might have told people to quiet down, or might have told people that it's not enough. Like, I want people who are guests to feel happy to show the sides of them that they're proud of, and then in turn for the listeners to feel happy to see themselves and to see other people a bit more clearly.
That's so cool.
We need that positivity.
There she is.
What?
We need that positivity, don't we?
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
All right, what else we got?
All right, let's see. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
this
This is
lady.
my grandmother. I mentioned earlier I lived in a multi-generational home. So my grandmother, she and I were really tight. She was always extremely stylish no matter the situation. I mean, here she is in the hospital. She had cancer. She spent her last few months in the hospital still wearing this floral hat. She would also bring in all of her bracelets. So whenever the nurses would come in for their routine checkups and stuff, she'd be like, okay, can you switch the diamond bracelet to the pearl bracelet? Because it always mattered to her to look put together. So I think everything that I learned about fashion and developing personal style, I got from my grandmother. And yeah, oh my gosh, it's coming up on 10 years since this photo was taken. Wow. Yeah. And she was somebody who also loved flowers and took such care of the landscaping at my parents' house. So, and it's still there now. She planted all of these rose bushes around the perimeter of the house, so all different colors. So if you were to see my parents' house, you still see all of the rose bushes. So when she was in the hospital, she would ask everybody if they could bring in the pictures of her flowers so she could see how they were doing. So I actually have a tattoo on my left arm of a rose. So it's the first rose that blossomed the summer that she passed away.
Wow.
But yeah, so she was, and her name was Erika.
Enrica.
So I was named after her.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah. Oh, there she is, my Lola. But she never liked to be called Lola.
Really?
No, because she was like, that's for old people.
Got
So I
it.
called her Mommy.
You call her mom.
Yeah.
Did you watch Survivor with her?
She actually got back into Survivor during season 25, Survivor Philippines, because Survivor was in the
Yeah.
Philippines. So yeah, she got into Survivor for the last couple years. So I think she would be proud.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, your podcast is called Happy to See Me. What made her most happy?
Ooh, what made her most happy? Like when her bag matched her scarf.
I was gonna ask you, like, well, what do you carry of her in you? But I believe you've just
Yeah.
told us. Yeah, the fashion.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that she was always somebody who thought that it didn't matter what resources you had. You can look good and you can present yourself to the world in the way that you want. And also how you dress and how you present yourself, like, introduces yourself to the world. And it affects the way that people think about you and look at you. So you can really think about how you want to portray yourself. But the thing is, like, me being me and being a teenager and experimenting with the things that I wore, she didn't like everything I wore.
Of course.
There were
Yeah,
definitely moments
yeah.
where she's like, what are you
What are you
wearing?
wearing? Yeah.
But she taught me a lot about how fashion can create a first
Oh,
impression.
I love that.
Oh, so sweet.
Sweet. That's a great photo.
Gosh, so many old
Is that a
school ones.
peace sign?
Yes, that's a peace sign. Yeah.
Way to go, Granny.
Yeah, I think this was like one of her last days, but there she was.
Look at that smile too.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I would spend the nights in the hospital with her sometimes. So I think by the time she went, I was like, you know what? Like, we had our time. Like, I felt good. So yeah, it's almost the 10-year anniversary of this. So this is so
Time flies,
timely.
eh?
Yeah.
There it goes.
All right, we
got
got
one
one more.
One more. Okay.
What is the last one? I can't
It's a big-
remember.
I know what it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good way.
I am obsessed with this story.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I want to know about, like, because your arms are outstretched. Like,
Yeah.
what's happening here?
So this was before I fought.
Okay.
So 10 years ago now, I mentioned before, never played a sport, but got into working out once I got up. Once I got older, I moved to Toronto, and I decided I wanted to try this charity boxing match. So it was called Agency Wars. It was for people who worked in advertising, marketing, and PR. run by Mandy Bujo was my coach. Christina AM was the one who created this tournament. But I remember trying out, and there were over 100 people at the tryouts, and we're like doing hill sprints at Riverdale Park. And then I got chosen. I'm like, how did I get chosen at all these people? But they were like, we like your work ethic. Let's have you do it. So I ended up training for 3 months, like working out every day, sometimes multiple times a day, going on a strict diet where I had
to... How strict are we talking?
Like I had to weigh all of my food every day. Okay. Yeah, to try to lose weight. But then I ended up fighting somebody who was 10 inches taller than me. Whoa. But we were in the same weight class. And they actually had me then gain a bit of weight to make sure we were equal. But I remember putting so much into this 3 months of training. And then when it was time to have the fight, I was like, I want to have like my wrestling moment. Yeah. Like they let us pick our walk-in music. So I put together, it was like a mashup of like DMX and Flume. It was like Chet Faker and Flume. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to have like my wrestler moment. So I get in and I'm like in the ring and I'm like, yeah, like, come on. And I'm like pointing to people and like telling them to cheer, just like hamming it up. I'm like, when else am I going to get this moment? Yeah. So this was me right before the fight. I didn't win, but that's okay. But
How did it go though?
It was, I mean, I got punched in the face a lot because she had a reach advantage. So I got punched in the face a lot. I punched her in the gut a lot.
Good. I don't mean like good, like hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean like good on you for like getting your game plan in.
Did you have fun?
This was like such an amazing experience. Like this was another life changer.
Did you do that again?
So I actually after this continued boxing. Yeah. There's a boxing gym that's down the street from the studio that I went to for 5 years. I kept training. I kept sparring. I fought again, and I got the silver medal out of 2 because there was only 2 people in my weight class in the province, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
Good for you. Awesome.
I think my second fight, I fought somebody. My coach didn't tell me until after the fight, but they were like, oh yeah, her dad and her brother were both Olympic boxers and we just didn't want to tell you ahead of time. I was like, I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
That's so crazy. How did you heal after?
So we were on, I remember for this, we were on such a strict diet. And I remember I brought 2 gym bags with me. And then, so, you know, my friends were like helping me after the fight. You know, we like go to the bar, whatever. And they were like, what are in your gym bags? And I was like, okay, one is my gym stuff. And the other bag, it's only cookies, just filled with different kinds of cookies.
The reward.
Yeah, but.
Good for you. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's scary, the idea. Like boxing is one thing, but to get in there and actually fight someone
it's
a
one thing
different level.
It is. It's one thing to train.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to like train for the purpose of getting in there. Did you feel, was it adrenaline that took over and you didn't even feel nerves, or were you like nervous to get in there knowing about like the height difference and what your game plan was going to have to be? And like, what did it feel like for you?
So did you think she's going to kick your ass?
Like, no. So for this one, like my coach was sure I was going to win.
Yeah.
It was like, because when we went through the training, my coach was like, oh, you're like really good. I was like, thank you. So they thought I was going to win. I was like, okay, then I must win. But since I never played a sport before, and this was like, imagine we're in a ballroom. Yeah. There's the ring set up. There's cameras. There's all these people. The lights are on you. And to have never performed like that before, it was like kind of freaky. You know, every now and then I get a glimpse of my mom freaking out. I think
your mom. Oh my God, you're in the ring and she's watching you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you know, my whole family came. And I think that I wasn't prepared for that aspect of it, of like actually having to compete with other people seeing you. So I think that created like a bit more like nervousness when I did this one. But then the second time I fought, so it was much smaller. It was like a tournament in Brampton. And I had trained for so much longer. I had sparred with different people. That by the time I got into it, and also like as I went ahead in boxing, what really surprised me is I found when I would be in the ring, it would be calming. Because you're actually very focused, because you're really only supposed to focus on your opponent. And then I had a coach who once said to me, your opponent will tell you where to hit them, because you'll be able to see like do they not have their guard up? And then that's where you go for it. And then you start to pick up patterns. So they're like, if you just stay focused and pay attention, you'll know where to hit them. So it ended up becoming calming. And I honestly think that even that training helped me so much on Survivor too, right? Like one, being able to like do this is crazy, being able to do this. That is crazy, yeah. But then being able to be in that stressful situation and learn how to just like be perceptive of the person in front of you.
Question about the water challenges. We're going back to Survivor.
Yes.
Any fear with the water challenges?
I'm not the best swimmer.
Yeah.
But I was always like, okay, I won't die. So I was just like, okay, I won't die. But
you could swim enough.
I could swim enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to let me die on this show.
Yeah.
Well,
but,
I mean.
So another moment of me just being like, why don't I just try it? So before we filmed the show, you meet with, it's like a producer who's in charge of safety. And he has to watch you swim in a pool. And he's like, it doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are. We just need to know so we can allocate resources to make sure that there's enough people watching the people who need more help. So I was like, okay, you probably need like maybe one extra eye on me. But I said, I've never dived before. Can I practice diving? And he was like, well, this pool is too shallow. And I wouldn't recommend you try diving for the first time during a challenge. I'm like, okay. But of course, do you know what happens? I was like, in a challenge, and it's one of those challenges where it's in the water, you swim a little bit, you climb up this thing that's like, I don't know, a story high, and then you're supposed to jump off of it. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a good time to try to learn to dive.
Oh, no.
And it just, I remember just jumping and I just feel my body rotating not in the right way. And I just belly flopped. Yeah. So I think that there's a gift somewhere of Jeff being like, when he sees me. Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
There's probably a gift somewhere of my bad belly flop too.
Oh,
But,
my goodness.
so maybe I don't need
Legendary.
to be as impulsive for those things.
Well, I mean, but you make an impression.
Yeah.
But you make an impression.
Were you in pain? I'm sure you're in pain after that.
I think I was just like, you're just so starving. You have everything that's like an ailment that you don't even notice.
Erika, if you had a motto that you live by, or if there was something that you would, tell someone that's looking for advice from you, what is it?
Ooh. You know what I tell myself, even when I think about that, like when I look at the boxing especially, like who was I to think that I could do that? But I think that what I tell myself a lot is you owe it to yourself to just try. You don't know what's going to happen if you don't go for it. And like, think about everything, and even think like this like little boxing, Erika, like think of everything that you've gone through, that you've wanted to do, all the things that you've had to overcome, even at that point 10 years ago. You owe it to yourself just to try and to try out and see. And it could surprise you. Again, it's like me thinking I will win Survivor Canada. And then
manifesting.
And then I could win. Instead, I won US dollars. So hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
So that was a big goal of yours, Survivor. What's the next big goal for you?
Oh, I know. That's such a scary question.
Is it though? Maybe you were happy with what you're doing now, right?
That's the thing. Like, I love the things that I'm doing now. Like, I love keynote speaking. When I worked in public relations, I used to write speeches for other people. So I'd ghost write their stories for them. And I'd stand on the side of the stage with the clipboard, giving the thumbs up. So I love being able to do that now and connecting with people. I love podcasting. I love interviewing people and bringing out the best in them. I've done more TV. I've acted a little bit since then. There's so much that I want to do, but I think that I don't think of it as like a big milestone. I think that all the tracks that I'm on are the tracks that I want to keep going on. So I keep telling myself, like, just keep going and just have more of what I'm doing now. I think if I had a big goal, I would love to be on TV again, but not as a contestant. No, I don't want to be competing again. Like, I want to be on TV again as me, not in competition.
Okay.
Is high school Erika impressed with Erika of today?
High school Erika would be like, what? Honestly, even Erika from 2019, she would be like, what the hell happened? Are you insane? And I'd be like, yeah, but like you were, and that's how I got here. But yeah, I think for sure she would be.
Yeah, you did the TikTok trend where you write to yourself when you're a teenager, and it was so beautifully written, and you were so honest with it. You've gone through a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But don't we all?
Yeah.
We all have our thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all can do all the things.
Yeah.
Just give yourself permission to do it.
Right. That's right.
Would younger yous be proud of you?
I think so. Yeah. Again, it was that ambitious kid who was trying everything and anything. And yeah, I think she'd be very happy of how I came out of everything, and the last year especially. So yeah, I think so. Aside from eating too much pizza and cake, I think that's the.
I mean, younger me would be impressed with my access to pizza and cake.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
true.
say what?
I have McCain cakes every
Yeah,
Friday. I
hello.
know. But yeah, I think I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this on your pod
Yeah.
too. But like, yeah, it takes, I don't know, when you stop and you reflect on like who you were, what you perceive to have been like your sort of setbacks or your foibles, what your ambitions were, when you take it all in, at least for me, on a whole, and not just I'm impressed with the work you've done, right? Not just I'm impressed with how close you've gotten to our work goals, your life and how you live it and who you are and the things you stand on as a person. Yeah, my high school self would be like, whoa, you followed through.
The other question is, any regrets? Right? That's a hard question to answer for a lot of people, and sit with it.
But I don't think I regret anything because everything led me to here. But I think I don't want to say regret, but I think that I wish I could tell younger me that you didn't have to worry as much and you didn't have to be as stressed. Because I think there was a younger version of me, which I understand she's in survival mode, different from survivor mode, survival mode, who really felt like things were scarce and she wasn't going to be able to do it all. Like, even would she be able to get a job? Would she be able to move to the city and support herself? And just doing so many things to try to make that happen, and overthinking so many things, and just imagining all the different outcomes and trying to pre-solve for all of the problems. I wish I could tell her, like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's all going to be okay. Yeah. But I mean, even when I graduated university, I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I'm afraid of looking. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm afraid of looking like I don't know what to do. So I did another college program that I signed up for public relations. And to be honest, I didn't even know what it was when I signed up.
Yeah.
I was just like, it has a good employment rate after, so I'm just going to do it. And I ended up doing that job for 10 years, even though I was like, I don't know why I'm here. Oh yeah, because I was afraid of how it would look. So I think that's actually, as I process it, I was afraid of how it would look. And I think now I'm not as concerned with how I look and what people think of me.
Did it feel like lost time?
Like when I worked in public relations? A little bit.
So is that your regret?
But I don't regret it. But the thing is, I don't regret it because I'm like, all the things I got from that experience, all the skills I learned, all the people I met, like, it got me to here, so I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But now I'm not going to hang around in something for that long if I know that it's not right anymore. That's what I've learned from it.
It's a learning lesson.
You have to go through things to know them, right?
True.
You have to go through it
I think
to do
my
it
regret
sometimes.
was I wish I spent more time with my kids when I was working so hard on my career.
Yeah.
You know, when that question, I never asked that question, how do you balance it all? Because there is no such thing as balance, right? Either you're working hard and your family takes the toll, or the other way around. It's never even. And I feel like I wished I shifted a little bit more when they were younger. So I think that's my biggest regret.
Do you have, you did a series where you went through the experience of freezing your eggs.
Yes.
What is your family dream? Do you have a family dream?
I do have a family dream. I would love to have a family at some point. And part of me thinks if I work hard right now and I establish everything right now, then by the time I have a family, maybe I don't have to work as hard. Maybe I can have things in place and people in place to keep the trains going. Like, that's my fantasy. But I also feel, from now having friends who become mothers, I'm like, nobody has it all figured out. I'm like, everyone's just, I'm sure, like, do you agree? Everyone's just figuring it out.
Oh yeah,
as they
fake it till
go.
you make it when you're mother.
Yeah.
It works though.
Yeah. But I have all these dreams of having a family for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and the egg freezing.
But do you picture the way that you would be with your children, like the things that you would tell them, the kind of things that you want them to experience in life, and how similar, how different is that to the way you grew up?
Yeah, I would say different.
Yeah.
No offense. My parents are going to listen to this. I'm like, no offense. But it's like, I'm sure for all of us, having parents who were really influenced by their culture, their Asian culture or their other cultures, and then bringing that to Canada and trying to reconcile that between their culture and Canadian culture, and then how that affects us as we're trying to fit in. Like, I remember thinking like, okay, like my Asian family wants me to be like this, but at school they want me to be like this. And I'm not sure how I'm supposed to be. And I think that kind of,
our parents were confused too. They didn't understand it either.
That's the thing.
They were trying to figure it out too.
That's the thing. I'm like, it was also my parents' first time living on this earth. So I understand we're all just trying to figure it out. Yeah. I think that I would want to give my kids, whatever happens, more of the space to just to say like, you can figure out how you want to move through the world. You can do it. I don't need to create the walls or the scaffolding for you. Like, you can do it. I'll like be here and watch and support you, but you can do it. Yeah. Aww. And I think all the things that I've learned over the last few years about what's possible, I think that I want to ingrain that into my kids even younger. And they don't all have to be ambitious, okay? But I want them to at least know that that's possible.
But so growing up, I would spend so much time looking at my parents' photo albums about what their lives were like, what they did, who they hung out with. I was too young when we left the Philippines to know what it was like to live there. So that was my way of kind of figuring out what it was like to live there. But just look at the pictures in front of you. Mm-hmm. When you have that family, when it's that time for you, look what you can show them. Look how you can lead by example for them.
Yeah. Even when I was documenting my egg freezing, I know that there were a few times when I cried. There's a few times where I'm just like in my pajamas, 6 a.m, giving myself shots. But I remember crying. There's a video of me crying when I find out how many eggs were successfully retrieved. There's a video of me crying where I'm explaining why I want to freeze my eggs. And I was showing one of my friends who's a mom. And I'm like, yeah, I guess like all for authenticity, it is like kind of weird to me that this is all on the internet. And she was just like, okay, but imagine your kids being able to watch this. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. She's like, for them to see like the intent you had and the journey you went on and what you wanted for them even before like they came to exist. She's like, imagine them watching it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, you forget what you put out there too sometimes. You're like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, our kids are gonna be able to see that.
Yeah.
In the next 20.
Yeah.
Clean out my social media.
That's the thing. I know that was me before Survivor. I'm like, okay, we're gonna take out my university partying photos. That's gone.
Yeah, you'll be like, here, kid, go through the Instagram. Yeah. Let mama inspire you.
Yeah. Well, I recently was out and I ran into a friend and her daughter was there. I don't know how old. I want to say she's about like the 9 to 11 age. And her daughter recognized me from Instagram. And I'm like, okay, there are kids who are watching me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Got to keep that in mind.
I know. Yeah. My kids' friends are watching. I'm like, why are they on my social media? Like, no, it's weird. It's awkward.
I know. And that's the thing. And like, once I was visiting I was at home visiting my parents a couple months ago, and my dad went to show me a photo on his phone, and I'm like, wait, pull up your camera roll again. And his camera roll was all screenshots of my Instagram story. No! And he's like, oh, in case like I go to the gym and somebody wants to know how you're doing, I show you. I'm like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
Congratulations on everything.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank you so much.
Survivor 41 was one thing, but everything you're doing and learning about your ambition is just, it's so helpful for especially women and girls. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. And even just following along either on social or, whenever we see each other out it's awesome to see what you're doing. And I know that we're both excited for, that question of like, what's the next thing can be a lot of pressure, but we're just very excited for everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And congrats to you. And I'm so excited to watch what you two do as well. I know I had Carlos on the podcast and I was saying, what happens when the stable gig isn't there anymore? And then Carlos said, you can do anything. And seeing the way that you've both just embraced the opportunity to do anything and step into what could be the scary unknown and saying, no, we're gonna make something out of this. It's so inspiring. So truly, it's been such a blast for me to watch the both of you.
Listen, we're gonna take that jump whether we belly flop or not.
Yeah. I'll make a gift for you.
Yeah, thank
Don't
you.
worry.
Thanks, Erika.
Thank you.